Know what? I'm excited for this one today. And if you are going to listen to anything that I have to say, out of all the videos that I have put out and all the videos I am going to put out, let this one be the one. Why? Because it is applicable to everybody and nobody is immune to this. This thought is so powerful that it subconsciously programs your entire life. In fact, Disney Pixar has an entire movie franchise based around this thought. They share the same thing I'm going to share with you here. The difference is they're doing it over the course of a couple different movies through a story with hidden messages in there. I'm going to do my very best to get these thoughts in a simplistic way in about 10 minutes or so. Today, we're going to talk about emotion. It's a different way of thinking about it, but it's applicable to every single one of us. Because remember, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your emotions. And emotions are something that you can master. It's a skill. You can learn how to manipulate and control them to work into your favor. So, what we're going to talk about, we're going to cover all of this today. Just the root word of emotion itself. The word emotion comes from the base energy in motion. Emotions have their own vibration, their own frequency, their own energies. We're going to cover the science of emotion. Now, I'm not a scientist, so rather than me telling you the science, I'm going to do a visualization exercise with you that'll prove to you exactly how powerful a thought and an emotion can be. What causes emotion? There's only two things. What are your emotional triggers? That is so important to learn. And you're instantly going to know what some of those are. People, places, things can instantly elevate or bring you down, depending on what you're around and your experience with it. There are other things out there that you're not as mindful of. And I'll teach you a little trick how to bring those to light because when you're aware of it, then you're in a position to shift and change them to work in your favor. And our emotions a choice? Yes or no? I have the answer. We'll tell you. Okay. So what you see here is an emotional frequency scale. This most simplest way I can explain this to you is to look at this as if it were a magnet. Whatever your primary emotional states are, is what you will continue to attract into your universe. So take a look at your life. Sit back and think, what are your current primary emotional states? Is your external world presently a mirror of what you're feeling on the inside? Now, we're all going to experience emotions, highs and lows. Life happens to every single one of us. So I'm not saying you're never going to experience those lower emotions, but when you are in those states, there are things that you can learn and do to take you out of that and to elevate your emotions quicker. And look at it this way. Look at those bottom emotions. Those are your heavier, denser emotions. Guilt, shame, fear, anger. Think about it when you're in those emotional states. How's your physiology? Does everything feel heavier? Are you tired all the time for no reason? Does your body physically fucking hurt? Think about the times where you've been in the zone, where you're living in that place of peace, joy, love. Everything feels lighter. You're more in control. Things come easier to you. If you can learn to manipulate this to work in your favor, you can control your entire universe. So identifying your emotional triggers, like I said, some of you are going to know instantly what some of those are. There are other ones that you're going to have to work to uncover. The simplest way that you can do this is by create an emotional journal for yourself. Do it for a week and see what you come up with. But do it in terms of green, yellow, red, positive, negative, neutral. When you notice yourself in any one of those three emotional states for an extended period of time, pause and reflect. What caused it? Was it an experience that you had in the world? Was it a thought? Was it something different where you're just numbing out scrolling on social media? Did that bring you anxiety? Did it make you feel good after you got off 2 hours of zoning out on YouTube? Those are the subliminal ones that we have to learn to uncover. But when you're aware of it, you are in a better position to change and control them. And my Jedi level tip is learn to heal, forgive, and release all of your old wounds, tearing down the walls that you have put up over time. Why is this important? Listen, life kicks the shit out of every single one of us at some point in time. Nobody is immune to that. But if we don't truly heal those wounds, think about this. When that thought, when that memory pops into your head and you fixate on it, what emotion does it bring out in you? Does it bring out guilt, shame, anger? Does it bring out those lower level emotions? That impacts your present moment. If you truly heal those wounds, and there's a process to doing that, there's 4 steps involved. If you truly heal those wounds, when you have that thought pop up next, there's no emotion tied to it. It's just a neutral emotion. And that's how you can tell if you moved on from it. Same thing with the future. If you look at the future through the lens of uncertainty with the eyes of fear and doubt, brings anxiety to your present. And the present is the only moment of time that matters. It's what you do today that will shape your tomorrow. And you are more likely to achieve what you want to achieve if you're in an elevated emotional state versus a lower one. Think about the times where you're sad and depressed and anxious. How does productivity impact you? It's near impossible to get a task done when you're in those states. Now, if you're elevated, those things come a lot easier. So it's learning how to control them to work in your favor. And what we do today, right now, in our present, is going to shape our tomorrow. So if you want that life of your dreams, it's what you're doing today to make that happen. And if you're in a lower emotional state, you are less likely to do that versus if you're in an elevated one. So the science of emotion, like I said, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to give you a scientific breakdown, but rather I'm going to do a visualization exercise with you, and I can prove to you right here and now how powerful thought and emotion can be. Now, I have a couple slides around this. I'm not going to do every single one, but if you are interested, hit pause on each slide and do it for yourself. Give yourself an Oscar-worthy performance. The more powerful your visualization, the more powerful your experience will be. But I do want everybody to do this first one because I will prove a very powerful point. After I finish explaining this, I want you to hit pause and visualize this for 30 seconds to a minute. That's all it takes. And all I want you to do is just visualize biting into a lemon. And like I said, the more powerful your visualization, the more powerful your experience will be. So when you're thinking about it, envision the taste, the texture, how your body's going to react to it. Get into the moment. Hit pause now. Are you back? What happened? Did you make a dumb fucking face? Did your body shudder up? Let me ask you this. Is your mouth salivating right now? Yeah. If your mouth is salivating, let that sink in for a moment. If your mouth is not salivating right now, that's okay. That just means you didn't get deep enough into the visualization. Now, if your mouth is salivating, let that sink in for a moment. Your thought, your visualization was so powerful that it tricked your subconscious mind into creating a chemical reaction within your brain that's causing your mouth to salivate. Why is that? Because the stronger the visualization, your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between imaginary and reality. The science of emotion is it will trigger a chemical reaction in your brain, releasing certain chemicals and hormones that impact your mood, they impact your thoughts, they impact your physiology. That is how powerful an emotion can be. This isn't even a fucking emotion. This is just biting into a lemon. Like I said, I'm going to breeze through these, but if we did the emotion of sadness and you got into that, what would happen to your physiology? Your shoulders would probably go forward. Your head would go down. You may start touching your face. Your breathing would become shallow. If we did the emotion of anger, you'd fucking tense up. Your breathing would become heavy and unregulated. Everything would feel dense and heavy, and you'd feel that anger surging through you. Oh, happiness, joy. If you got into that emotion, everything feels lighter. Shoulders go back, head up. You're going to smile. You physically feel lighter. Your breathing is regulated and controlled. That is the power of emotions, high or low. It will impact your mood, your thoughts, and your physiology. So we've covered emotion, energy, and motion. The emotional frequency scale is a magnet. Whatever your primary states are is what you will continue to attract into your universe. Science of emotion, chemical reaction that impacts your mood, your thoughts, and your physiology. We discussed the importance of learning your emotional triggers. Now, the last two, these are the most important. Are emotions a choice, and what causes emotion? And that answer of our emotions a choice is dependent on the cause. There's only two things. The first thing that causes emotion is our experience in this world. In those instances, the emotion is not a choice. I'll give you the example because we've all experienced this. You're driving on the highway, somebody cuts you off. You experience road rage. You react before you even have a chance to process the thought of what happens. And that's why you lose control in a moment. You ever heard the phrase, your emotions are running wild? It's based off an experience. Now, you can run with that, and it can impact your entire fucking day if you let it, or you can snap out of it and eradicate it. In those cases, based off an experience, the initial emotion is not your choice. It is out of your control. You react before you have a chance to process the thought. But that brings us to cause number two. And this is the most important one. What the other cause of emotion besides experience are your thoughts. What you focus on, you will feel. And in that case, your emotions are a choice. Don't let anybody tell you differently, including yourself. The human mind, we all have tens of thousands of thoughts that race through our head every single day. Have you ever been there one day and just mind your own business and all of a sudden, hey, remember that time 8 years ago where I was a fucking dick? Yeah, I do remember. I feel guilty and I feel shame towards that. Hey, remember that time 12 years ago where so and so wronged me, hurt me, broke me? Yeah, I do remember. I'm fucking angry towards that person. Those thoughts are normal. And this is the most important thing that I can share with you. The first thought that pops in your head is out of your control. Every subsequent thought that follows is entirely in your control. So when you have a negative thought pop in your head, what are you doing? Are you feeding that? Are you fueling it? Or are you relinquishing it and exiting it out from your system? You have the power and the choice to feed it or to eradicate it. What are you putting your focus on? So, like I said, what you focus on, you feel. Are you more likely to look at an opportunity and think about what could go right or what could go wrong? If you're focusing on the worst case scenario, what does it do for your emotional state in the present? If you focus on an optimistic scenario of you achieving those things and believing it, what does that do for your present emotional state? Are you more likely to talk about things that you love or things that you hate? It all goes back to attitude, which is contagious. If you're focusing on the negative, you're going to bring in more negative. Same with the positive. I remember just there used to be so many groups of little sewing circles, and these kids bonded over all the things that they fucking hate. And not a single one of them were happy people. When you talk about the things that you hate, what does that do for your emotional state? What does it do to talk about the things that you enjoy and love? What does it do when you do those things? Do you bitch and complain, or you take uncomfortable action to change your circumstances? Any one of you has the power to change. You have made yourself comfortable with sitting And these uncomfortable feelings, a lot of us have normalized it. I was at for the longest fucking time. And it sucks because you start to believe it. But you can make the change. It doesn't happen without getting uncomfortable, but you can make these shifts to rise above it. And when you're able to do that, oh, the world becomes a better place in every way, shape, or form. Trying versus doing, saying you can't versus asking, how can I? I did an entire video around this. Just the power of a single word, and how we use it makes a difference between an empowering and disempowering thought. And you have the power to do that. So, a pro tip, like we talked about the thoughts, and we can't control that first thought that comes in our head. Give yourself a snapback word or action. Now, remember, this is a skill. This is a learned skill. The more that you practice this, the easier it will become. My personal word is present, just to remind myself to get out of that thought and snap back to the present moment. So when I have that negative thought come in, I have trained my brain with the snap of a finger. I do one of these, get out. And I just say present. And it recenters me to the present moment, and I eradicate that negative thought, and I do my best to replace it with an empowering one. Because if I sit in it and if I feed it and I let it fester, it's going to do nothing but bring me down. Now, if I replace it with an empowering one and I feed into that, it's going to bring me up. I do that countless times throughout the day, but it's a skill. And the more that you practice it, the easier it will become. And your world will be better off if you don't focus on that shit. Like I said, it's a different way of talking about this stuff. It's applicable to everybody. No one's immune to it. And there are ways you can control and manipulate your emotions. And you don't need external things to do it, people, places, things. You can achieve it all from within, from the power of your mind and what you focus and choose to put your attention on. It's entirely possible. I went through 30 some years of letting my thoughts control me. And I had a life that was reflected of it. I had a life that was in fucking shambles. Now that I've learned a better way and how to manipulate these for me, I'm living my life with purpose, with meaning. I am happy with the person I am today. And I'm hopeful that I'm making an impact of those around me. Any one of you can do this. And if you learn to master your emotions, if you learn to live in those higher elevated states with nothing at all, through no external validation or experiences, you have the tool to transform your life. And then you'll start to notice all those things that you're chasing, all those things that you're aspiring for. You're not going to have to chase them anymore. They're going to start to come to you. But it starts with believing that you can. And you can, because I fucking did it. And if I can do it, you can too. Enjoy your day.